Hi everyone, welcome back to Brook Valley Life, or hello for the first time. I'm still out of action. We're up to 2 weeks now without, since I broke my rib. In fact, it's this one. And yeah, so no shooting, so I haven't shot for about 4 weeks. So, what are we going to do today? Well, no shooting obviously, but what we're going to do is talk about arrows and how we can cut them to length for our draw length, so we can tune them, and yeah, what we can use. So what we're going to be looking at types of arrows is the aluminium or aluminum, depending on where you are in the world and how you spell it, of course, carbon, and also the carbon aluminium type arrows. So the Eastern X10s, those type of things, and the pure carbons, as I said. So let's go and have a look, see what's available for us to cut our arrows to length, and yeah, let's go. So here we are back in the workshop, stroke garage, stroke studio, you will name it what you want, but we're inside, as I said, still recovering from broken rib, because I did a stupid thing, and yes, it's all on me. So we're talking about arrows, but not. We're talking about how we can cut our arrows to length and what there is out there to use. But first of all, let's think about the types of arrows that we've got, because the type of arrow should dictate what you're going to use to cut. First of all, aluminium, or for people who spell it differently, aluminum. Just an aluminium tube, easy to cut. You get a pipe cutter, I'll put a picture in here. Use it for DIY for doing copper piping or any piping really. And it's got a cutting wheel that spins around the tube, and you just increase the pressure on it. It cuts in a bit deeper each time as you go around, and it will cut off. You can then sand the end and get it nice and clean. Remember to take the burr off the inside, and yeah, simple as that, and you can cut it to the length you need. Second type is going to be a carbon based arrow, and I say a carbon based arrow because you can get pure carbon like this, or you can get the aluminium carbon. So this has got carbon on the outside. We've got an aluminium tube up the center. This is a Eastern X10. I don't shoot these anymore. Or you can get the ones with carbon in the middle and aluminium on the outside, but they are a carbon based arrow. So what can we use to cut these down to size? Can you use the same cutter as you use for the aluminium? Well, actually you can, but it won't give you that good a cut, a clean cut, so you really need to get something a bit different. Now, I guess when starting off, lots of people look at something like this. Let me bring that up so you can actually see it. This is a Dremel, and this is a cordless Dremel. I've never used this actually to cut arrows, because I don't think you can get a square enough cut with them, because you've got to try and set it up, and if you've got a bit of a shake or anything like that, you're not going to get a square cut on the end of your arrow where your point sits, and your point may not glue in properly, and it may be just off center and that type of thing. But people do use these, and they've set up little jigs for them. Do they work? Yes. And the other good thing is that you can change the blades that you use. They're just cutting discs like a grinder on the end, and when they wear out you put a new one in. So general, starting off, if that's all you got, use it, but make sure that you sand the ends of your arrows. Yep, make sure they're flat and there's nothing up the inside. So what I like to do is take a cotton bud, cotton swab, whatever you want to call it, Q-tip, maybe use some acetone and just clean up the inside of the tube of your arrow shaft to keep it nice and clean so the glue will adhere to the shaft itself and won't be dusty on the inside. And it also squares the ends off. Next, we're going to look at actual arrow cutting saws, and that's SAWS. So there's two main types you're going to come across. One is like a chop saw, so a drop saw type thing, and the other one is a dedicated arrow saw. So let's go and have a quick look at those. So here we have the chop saw style arrow cutter or arrow shaft cutter, and what we have on here is a little clamp that moves backwards and forwards. So if you've got an arrow, let me just grab one. Where are we? Where are they gone? That one will do. We can put our arrow in there, we can lock it up. As you can see, it's all locked in place. It's got a safety on there as well, so you have to push that in for it to come down and it will chop. You've got the on-off switch there as well. You have to plug it in. This isn't plugged in, so I'm quite safe for now. You can also change the angle on this if you ever wanted to, up to 0 to 45. I've never done that because you don't need to. But you will notice that there is no ventilation sucking all of the dust away. So if you are using any of these types, you should wear a mask. Yep, keep that carbon dust out of your lungs because it's not good for you. But what is it really? So if we look on the side here, hopefully you can see this. There's a little cutting wheel. This one has some things on there. I think I can lift that off because it slides in. There we go. And as you can see, it's just a cutting disc that spins from the motor in here. You can change it. You can buy new ones if you need to. Yeah, it's really simple. This is just a cover that fits over the top, just a guard really. Oh, as you can see, I have been using this and there's still dust in it everywhere. And yeah, it's worked up until now, and I've had very good use out of it. Now the only thing I have found with this one is because it's sitting up, you can't really, if you clamp it in there and you just cut straight down like that as you would do on a normal chop saw for wood, you can splinter the carbon a little bit. So what I like to do is get it so it's holding it, but you can spin the arrow inside. And at the far end I have a block of wood which I've drilled a hole in that the shaft can fit into, so I can fit it in at one end and then spin it, and you know it's not going to move. And there we can get a really clean cut. Now I still would use this little piece of kit. This little piece of kit is for squaring off the ends. Now I've got some sandpaper stroke emery cloth here, nice fine grit. You've got a couple of rollers here. You put your shaft on and you spin it up against there, and it will sand the end and it will sand it nice and square, so you always get a square end. Now these things are quite cheap on AliExpress. That's where I got that one from. I think, well, I'll look up the price and I'll put it in here how much this actually is. It's called a mini cut-off saw. Let's have a look. It goes to 7,800. It tells you the size of the center hole on the cutting disc you need. It's 90 watts, nearly half an amp, 220 volts, 50 hertz. So if you're in the US, it may not work unless you've got a 220 outlet socket like we do here in the rest of the world. Not the rest of the world, but here in New Zealand, Europe, or places like that. So that is the chop saw type. Next we have the actual dedicated arrow saw. Now you would think this is really expensive compared to all of the others. Now you can buy these that are $300 or $400. They come with suction for your ventilation, and it looks exactly like this. However, this little thing cost me 99 Kiwi dollars. So you're looking somewhere around £50 or what, 60 US dollars, somewhere around there. And if you do your own arrows, something like this is going to be a no-brainer to get. So how does it work? Well, if we look at this end here, let me bring it across and let me zoom in. We've got a we've got a cover, and what's that covering? You've got a little cutting disc like you would get with your Dremel actually. You've got the motor here with the on-off, which is pretty good. I don't think it's plugged in. That's not plugged in at the moment, so that's cool. So it's all safe. We have got a track that this sits on, and we can move this backwards and forwards if you need to. You've also got a little traveller here that you can screw in and out. Now this is great because you can have an arrow sitting on there and you can actually move it in and out and spin it at the same time to get a perfect cut on there. So hopefully you can see that. And that's it. And it comes with spare cutting discs as well, and you can buy them quite cheaply as well, because I think they're virtually the same as the Dremel ones, and also the same as all the other types of Dremel, but non-branded Dremels as well. So it's just a small cutting disc. And at the other end, let me come around just there, zoom in. Here we have somewhere for the back end of the arrow to sit, and we can spin it around, and it just sits in there quite merrily, and it will take a large arrow, a thin arrow, and once it's sitting in there you can just push in the front bit, spin it round, and it's got somewhere to sit against, and you get a nice straight cut. Now as I said, I bought this off AliExpress for 99 New Zealand dollars. Yeah, just to show you how cheap it is. And yes, I do cut all of my own arrows. In fact, let me just take that off there. Here's a set of 700 spine shafts that I'm going to be cutting pretty soon to make some new arrows up for my outdoor setup. So those are the setups that I have been using to actually cut my arrows to length. As I said, I do all of my own arrows myself. I buy the shafts full length and then I cut them down as I require them. It allows me to be able to tune my arrows correctly, and it also allows me to put different points in, different weights, what I want. So I range from anywhere between 80 grain and 150 grain for my target arrows. For my clout arrows I think I've got 200 grain, and that's in an aluminium arrow as well. So I do both aluminium and carbon aluminium. But what I can say is it's a good thing to do, because if you can make up your own arrows, yeah, fletch them, cut them to size, glue in your points, you can usually save yourself a lot of money. And if you do damage an arrow, damage a point, damage a pin, rip a fletching off, as you can see with that one just coming off, boop, you can then fix them. And if on your journey you change your draw length, and that does happen, I shot for 10 years, 12 years, and I had the same draw length. However, I wasn't drawing correctly, and I got to a point where I then managed to get my shoulder back and my arm back, and I gained an extra inch or two. And all these arrows are too short for me now. My X10's too short for me. So now I'm making my arrows slightly bigger. So these ones are about 28 inches carbon to carbon. By that means one end of carbon to the other, not including the points, because point size will change on the different weights, and I use a pin system for the nocks. So now they're, I think, 29.5 carbon to carbon is what I use. So this is just a quick video just to show you what I use and what is out there to cut your arrows to length, from the basic pipe cutter up to a proper arrow saw. And this, as I say, this is a cheap one from AliExpress. I bought it myself, but you can buy a lot more expensive with all of the bells and whistles on for getting rid of all of the dust. Now, if I put a vacuum cleaner behind, sucking in as I cut, it's doing the same thing. So it's not even worth buying the really expensive ones, I would say, unless you're in a shop environment or you've got a massive workshop that you do lots of arrows. As I said, hope you've enjoyed this video. It's just a quick look at arrow saws and what's out there. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe, all the other good things YouTube want you to do. I've got at least another week without shooting before this thing starts being fixed, and then I need to get back shooting again. I will catch you next time. Keep shooting, as you all know, it's the only way you can get better, and catch you next time. Bye bye for now.